All right, Danny. Kind of, I would say exciting episode to talk about tonight. More disappointment, but I am excited to talk to you about it and get your opinion on the MLS summer transfer window. The World Cup ended almost a month ago. The transfer window,
Already?
yeah, isn't that crazy? It's the 19th of July.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy how fast it came and went, right? It started over
Yeah.
2 months ago. So it really did go by pretty fast. But you and I have been talking about this for a long time that this was going to be the biggest transfer window in Major League Soccer, at least since we've been covering this. And we're almost over. There's like 2.5 weeks left of the window, and it's not what we thought it was going to be. Um, yeah, because we've been talking about this for a while. We said in January that it wasn't people were saving their resources for this summer, and that just hasn't happened, man. Hey, real quick, make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The 2026 MLS season part 2 has officially started. We got the transfer window, we got the MLS Cup playoffs at the end of the year, and everything in between you guys are not going to want to miss. So please make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos.
No, much like you, I when the winter was coming around and there weren't really many big names coming through. I think you said it, I said it. A lot of people were saying it. It's okay. Teams are no player is going to come over to the MLS to play for 6 months and risk not being able to be called up by their national team for the World Cup. So because of that, I figured that most people would wait till the summer, and then this would be a huge summer. It hasn't been as sexy as I was hoping, but it hasn't been all bad. Griezmann, I think people forget the fact that he is a summer transfer because they announced it, like, was it March or April or whatever it was?
Yeah.
He is technically a summer transfer. Casemiro is a summer. We had some good big names come over to the league, and I think that the biggest one that a lot of people thought would be either here or Saudi, which was Mo Salah. I think that that's where the failure comes in, because I think once he kind of turned us away and ended up going to Turkey, I think that that's when it's like, all right, well, that would have been the move. I think that would have put it over the hump. I think everybody would have looked at it as a success because then you have the biggest name in Asia, Africa, and the Americas, or the whole world in this case with Messi. But I think that that was the move that could have put things over the hump, and that hurt. But I still think like we got some pretty good names this transfer window.
Listen, we signed a bunch of guys who are recognizable, but it's just not enough or any different than what we have already been doing even last summer. I mean, I think you could argue last summer was maybe bigger at the time than this summer has been
Because of Sun,
because of Son. And at the time, even though he sucks, he's not been good for Inter Miami. Rodrigo De Paul was a huge signing at the time. Everyone was talking about how
because
he
of
was
his
30.
age, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because his age, he was 31, and a lot of people thought he was still going to be an important part of the Argentinian national team, which he was. He
I don't
did
think he
start.
sucked. He hasn't sucked. He just hasn't lived up to his DP billing.
Exactly. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Let me clarify. He
Yeah,
has not lived up to his price tag. He has
yeah,
disappointed based on expectations. But at the
right.
time, we agreed that was a big signing. A lot of people were excited to
Yeah.
see what he could do. There hasn't been anything like that this summer. All these guys that you just named have all been free transfers, and that doesn't really matter to me as much as their age. Uh, I guess the excitement and just not enough of these moves, man. I mean, you mentioned Lewandowski, Griezmann, and Griezmann announced in March, right? There were so many people that texted me saying, "Man, I forgot he even played here. I totally had forgotten that he signed with Orlando City until early July when they started doing preseason matches to get back in form for the second half of the MLS season. It's like it's not bad, but it's very underwhelming compared to what we thought was going to happen. I mean, this was the freaking World Cup, man, here in 2026. This was supposed to be the explosion of signings for many teams in MLS.
I think if the salary cap restrictions would have been lifted by this transfer window, we would have seen more names. But teams were restricted. Like Inter Miami couldn't sign any more DP players, and they managed to get Casemiro anyway. LAFC couldn't sign any more DP players. Like there's teams that already had their restraints where they couldn't add anything else. So I mean, you know that you're not gonna get a big name going to, I don't know, Colorado. Like there's only a certain amount of teams that can get those really big names because they're gonna pick to go to those nice cities to live the latter part of their career in. And I can't think of any team that had many openings. Lewandowski went to Chicago when Kuipers was there already. They brought him in anyway. I think that was a bad move because you have Kuipers already. You should have stayed younger. But I don't think that the opportunities to bring those names. Now, I wasn't thinking like that back in the winter, but now that I'm here, I look at it and I'm like, well, who could they have brought and where would they have gone? Because I don't think that many teams had those opportunities anyway. I don't think there was Atlanta, I guess, technically, maybe, but they struck out a couple of times. They tried.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of teams with DP spots open that still have DP spot, or maybe not. They don't have it now, but like the LA Galaxy could have signed Mo Salah, which we'll get to Turkey here in a second because that's a big point of focus I want to talk about. But they could have signed Mo Salah. That would have been a home run signing. Both New York teams have DP spots open. Now the Red Bulls are cheap. New York City FC, yeah, I know the baseball
nobody wants to play in
stadium.
the baseball stadium, man. You gotta wait till that new stadium opens up.
But they still could do something. They could do something, right? And then also to Chicago, even though they signed Lewandowski, selling Hugo Kuipers, they have a DP spot open now. They have one left. They could sign someone else. Like they could have added another piece. Now maybe they still do, but I have heard no rumors outside of Goretzka. That was one rumor about maybe joining Lewandowski in Chicago.
Mhm.
That's when ice cold. I've not heard anything about that in weeks. So there are teams with DP spots open. And look, I'm not even talking about the roster rule changes. I'm talking about with the rules right now, the DPs. I mean, there's only going to be a handful of big time players that come to the league, right? It's like there's going to be like 100 of them. But they only signed, I think you could argue, they signed Lewandowski, we said Griezmann.
We're talking big names, recognizable. We're not talking about the pitch. Big names.
Big names.
We got
big names.
Casemiro.
Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez. Say what you want. That's a recognizable name. Okay. You got Sergio Roberto.
No,
Sergio
Roberto. Stop.
No, come on.
Stop. Listen,
you tell me that wasn't a name?
Sergio Roberto is okay. I mean, I don't think he's a huge name.
No, he's not a huge name, but he's not
serviceable.
He's not the same fullback that he was years back, but he's still something that unexpected. Like, what were you waiting for? Like, what kind of name outside of Mo Salah and Lukaku were you expecting? Because I mean, you really didn't hear too many names that wanted to go abroad anyway.
Well, let's look at this then. Let's look at this the Turkey signs because I said a couple days ago that they're taking a lot of targets, right? MLS's bread and butter has been free agent signings, free transfers because they don't have to pay a fee. They can pay him a big salary. It's like they're what they capitalize on. Lukaku's going to Fenerbahce, Mo Salah going to Trabzonspor, and then Vlahovic going to Besiktas. These are now. I'm not saying that Vlahovic was going to go to MLS, but they could have taken a swing at him. I think Lukaku could have went here. I didn't want to see him in Atlanta, but I would have liked to seen him in the league. Mo Salah, that. And listen,
what about Bryce Mendes?
Bryce Mendes is a typical MLS summer signing,
but that's a good signing though.
That's typical though. That's not the World Cup. That's not the World Cup big.
I will take a Bryce Mendes this summer over Rodrigo de Paul last summer. I think Bryce Mendes is going to do more on the pitch than Rodrigo de Paul has done so far this year.
Well, that's because it's hindsight 2020. We know we haven't seen much from DePaul. Like we know he's not good, but we didn't know that last year. You wouldn't have done that last year. You would have taken DePaul over.
Hey, last year I was saying that I wasn't a big fan of getting DePaul on Inter Miami. But everybody was like, no, you're wrong. He's gonna ball out. And I said, okay, I guess I'll wait and see. I understand why everybody wants the flashy big names, but if you go after the flashy big names, MLS is still at a place where if you go and get the flashy big name, they're generally going to be on the latter part of their career. So you have to get that second tier guy like a Bryce Mendes. You get a Cucho Hernandez back whenever he's ready to leave La Liga. Like those second tier players that are playing well on the pitch and recognizable for people that are hardcore fans of European soccer, but that aren't necessarily superstars. Those are the guys that they should be aiming for because you can get those guys in their late 20s and early 30s. But like a Lukaku, like who wants a Lukaku on their team? Like that would have been a disaster if he ended up on Atlanta. Like thank God Atlanta didn't get him. Mo Salah is the only one in this group that I'm like, you know what? That would have been great.
Here's the thing though. the 2026 World Cup was here. 60 million people watched the final. A whole bunch of people were exposed to soccer that had never been exposed to it before. Major League Soccer had an opportunity to sign players with the current rules, big name players on free transfers, or maybe even spend some money on certain guys to bring him here to try to bridge those fans over and say, hey, you saw this guy play this summer. Come watch him play in MLS. There's not a single player that they have signed outside of Casemiro that you could say it about. None of the players played in the World Cup. Zero. He is the only person they signed this summer that played in the World Cup. Casemiro is. He's the only one. So you're telling me that after the 2026 World Cup, we signed one freaking World Cup player to come over here and play in MLS. That's it. That's our big plan. We'll take it from here. Is we signed one guy who played in the World Cup. That's not disappointing?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head players that perform well at the World Cup that you would want over here.
Mo Salah. Like, he's the biggest one.
I understand. I understand. Mo Salah, even if he didn't participate in the World Cup, we would have wanted him. I understand. That has nothing to do with the World Cup. Mo Salah is just the biggest name in Africa.
Listen, Lukaku, I know you don't like him. And listen, I understand the concerns. His knees are deteriorating, but you cannot say he did not contribute at the World Cup. He had 4 goals for Belgium at the World Cup. 4 goals. He would have been the Golden Boot leader for the United States if he played for the United States. He scored more goals than any other player for the United States and several teams. He did contribute, regardless if you think he is going to last 2 or 3 years. People know who he is, and he did perform at the World Cup, and people watched him. 44 million Americans watched him beat the United States.
You really think Lukaku moves the needle?
No, I'm not saying he moves the needle. I'm saying he's supposed to be part of the equation. He's supposed to be the influx of maybe 5 to 10 players that played the World Cup that you bring over. I mean, and there was rumors about Christian Pulisic coming to Major League Soccer. AC Milan is being very stubborn and don't want to sell him. And he wasn't good at the World Cup, obviously, but he is a household name. He wanted to come over here now and get his payday, but they're reluctant to sell him. And listen, that's the thing, Danny. It's like here's the rare circumstance, right? 48 teams play at the World Cup this year, not 32. There were 16 more teams. There's 26 men per roster. Let's do some quick math on that, okay? I know you're the math guy here, so I don't know if you could do it off the top of your head of like what that would be. So 1,248 players participate in the 2026 World Cup. Okay, you're telling me
so
we're signing one?
You want any guy that's just part of the World Cup?
No.
You can go to Miami FC and pick up their keeper if you want. Like, there's plenty of players from Curacao playing in Miami FC. Like, just being a participant in the World Cup doesn't mean anything.
No, my point is that Major League Soccer throughout the years have signed players from the World Cup. They've done this 2010, 2014, 18, and 22. 2026 is the biggest World Cup in the United States' history because it's here. It was supposed to launch pad the league and soccer in this country, and they signed one freaking player who played the entire World Cup, and it was Casemiro. That's it. That's it. And Mo Salah, I know we keep talking about him, and I know that you agree with me that we should have signed him. I understand that. But when you look at his deal with Trabzonspor, $17 million and 20% of his kit revenue. That's what they took to get him. You're telling me Major League Soccer couldn't have been more aggressive and try to get that over the line?
Did he want it? What if he doesn't want to come here?
I don't think they offered him that. I don't think they offered him that type of deal.
I think they offered him like 20% of his jersey. They give him a big offer.
Sporting Kansas City offered him. I don't think he wanted to go to Kansas City. I think he might have wanted to come here. I just don't think he wanted to. But even still, my point is there's not players that you could have bought. Like there was several players with like Australia who have been sold this summer. That have performed well. What about Vizinha? Like, he was one of the stars of the World Cup, and I know that you're going to say,
this is where things get silly. So we want him just because he had a nice little. He's 40 years old, but he had a nice little run. Like, you really expect somebody to bring him in just to PR him around? Like, I didn't want Vizinha here,
but he's good. And here's another thing too.
He's good.
He's a free.
It took us till he was 40 to find out that he was good.
But he's a free transfer. He performed against literally. He's the only player to play against both of the teams in the World Cup final and did not lose to either one of them. I think they drew with both teams, if I'm not mistaken. They definitely drew with Spain. Maybe they did lose to Argentina 1-0. I think maybe they did because it was a knockaround. Either way, he performed very well in the World Cup.
Extra time.
Extra time. He performed very well in the World Cup, and MLS is not like a goalkeeping gold mine here. So he would.
No, but keeping here in MLS is different. This is a transition league. They're constantly playing the counters. This is different. You got to be able to come out of your box. We don't know what Vozina can do. He's 40 years old, man. No way. So you're telling me if we got Vozina because he was the PR guy in the World Cup, you would have been happy?
I like he's part of the Lukaku, the part of a influx of both guys. You're telling me that it wouldn't be worth signing a guy who was so popular and good. He wasn't just popular; he was also good in the World Cup. If you say he wasn't, then you're just I can't help you. He was
no, I get it, but he had a cute run.
Free
in the World
transfer, $400,000 a year is what he's getting paid. I think at Colo Colo. That's it, $400,000 to $500,000. You're telling me an MLS team couldn't have taken a flyer on that guy who was one of the best goalkeepers in the entire World Cup?
Why do you think they didn't?
I just don't think they thought he wouldn't do anything for him. They weren't interested. I don't think anyone reached out to him. Why though?
Because I don't understand think that he was going to be good.
But I don't get that. The MLS goalkeepers we've seen are not good. I think he's better than Rocco Rios Novo. I think he's better than Dane St. Clair.
Sure.
You tell me that
he might be the same as Dane St. Clair. That's my thing. He had a good run. Yes, I understand what they did against Spain. I get it. They played the low block and they managed to keep a draw. I get it. They played a low block against Argentina and they managed not to let them score a lot. I get it. They played a low block and they had some success. Are you really going to hang the failure or success of this transfer window on a 40-year-old keeper from, where was he from? Was it Curacao? I already forgot. Cape Verde.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Vozina is what we're talking about right now.
Listen,
I feel like Alan Iverson talk about practice. Come on, man.
It's the principle, though. These are easy targets that you could layups. They're layups, and you're just whiffing on them. Nothing. Like I just want to know how MLS knew this World Cup was coming in 2018, and they've been preparing for this for years. They got Messi here and everything, right? And you're telling me they signed one freaking World Cup player. And I know you're gonna say, well, yeah, there's a lot of bad players. You know, I understand that, but there's 1,248 players. You're telling me they couldn't have landed 5 to 10 solid ones? 1,248, they couldn't have landed 5 to 10 solid ones to transition over and say, look, you just watch this guy playing the World Cup. Come watch him play in MLS. Like I like when I heard that stat, they signed one World Cup player. It blew my mind. You know that MLS has sold more World Cup players than they bought this year? They've sold more World Cup players than they bought.
Well, and I want to get into that in a second. But the thing is, look, if you're talking about, for example, the Brazilian team, that roster, you're not going to get any of those players to come. If they're playing for the Brazilian team, if they're playing for the French national team, if they're playing for these national teams, that means that they're at the top of their game. They're probably in their mid-20s. They're not coming to MLS right now.
I don't believe that.
You can't expect these names to come over here right now.
I don't believe that.
We're not there yet.
We've seen it yet. We've seen it, though. We've seen players come over here. So you think Son Heung-min didn't have offers in Europe? You don't think he could have stayed over there?
Fine. So we've seen it every once in a while. So we saw it with Son and Messi.
You don't think RDP could have stayed in Europe?
And Casemiro could have also. What I'm saying is that you can't expect that all the time. I don't know what kind of players you were expecting this summer. This was a good summer. You got Luigi from the Palmeiras. He's already making a difference in NYCFC. You got Saad, which was balling yesterday for Nashville. Who had him on the radar? Was he on a World Cup roster for Tunisia?
No, he's good. I don't know if he was.
He was tearing up Inter Miami. But because he's not a big name, you're like, would the transfer window suck? No, that kid's going to be a baller. He's going to make a difference in this league. You don't need to be a big name. If you're making a difference on the pitch, that's a good signing. And that's good for MLS. And what I think that we haven't talked about yet is the fact that this was a successful transfer window for the fact that we had a bunch of players get transferred to big leagues. We had players go to the English Premier League. We had players go to Championship. We had players go to La Liga. We had players get purchased to Bundesliga. Like, there's big leagues coming and purchasing from MLS now. We had defenders being purchased from MLS. Lucas Harrington, what was it 18, 20 million to purchase Lucas? Who had a defender in MLS being purchased to go to play in Europe 5-10 years ago? That would have been unheard of. All of a sudden, we had 4. We talked about it. You and I talked about it the other day. We had with Harrington. We had I'm blanking now. We had Gozo,
Max
Berhalter, because he's a defensive midfielder. Arfson. Those are technically defenders. I understand that some of them are wingbacks, but
hey, everyone, quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. If you're into soccer like I am, you already know how exciting La Liga, the Premier League, and MLS matches can get. With FanDuel, you can make it even more fun by placing bets on your favorite teams and matches across all three leagues. Whether it's a Premier League showdown, a La Liga thriller, or an MLS game with your local club, FanDuel makes it easy and exciting to bet on what you watch. Just remember, you have to be 21 years or older to play. Please bet responsibly and only if you're of legal age and in a state where it's allowed. Download the FanDuel app or head over to fanduel.com, sign up, and get in on the action. Thanks for supporting the channel through FanDuel.
Who had defending players going over to Europe? This league is growing and the talent is growing. Different positions are going. This isn't just forwards and that's it. Like, I think that this was a successful season, transfer window for the players moving out, and we've gotten some solid players in. We've gotten some names in. Yes, they weren't as sexy as a Mo Salah, or I'm sure there's some other names out there that might have made it look a little sexier. But to say that this is a failure, I don't know. I think that's much.
Okay, first of all, Saad was on the World Cup for Tunisia, but I don't even know if he played. They got grouped. Tunisia did. But my point is that last year was way more aggressive. That's my whole point. It's not about the typical Major League Soccer year, Danny. This is
outside of Sun. I can't. Sun and RDP. I can't remember what other aggressive signing there was. If anything, we had more big names this year. We had Casemiro, Lewandowski. We had Griezmann, Alexis Sanchez. Again, I keep bringing him up because it's kind of weird. But
we have to talk about their age too. That is also important. Yes, the big name, but you also have to talk about the age. Son Heung-min was 33 when they signed him. Rodrigo de Paul was 31 when they signed him. Lewandowski's 38. Sanchez is 38. Casemiro is 34. Griezmann's 35. Like, a lot of these guys are even older. They're out of their national team. They're out of sight, out of mind. I don't think that they don't have the allure, the appeal. I think this is a whole different subject. They're a whole different talking point. But, I think one of the most important things these international players, to get the people to support them and follow them, is they have to be somewhat involved with their national team, because that they have a vested interest to make sure they're still playing well. So that they're like, hey, Son Heung-min's at LAFC. I got to check and see if he's doing good with LAFC, because I'm hoping he plays good for South Korea. I hope that Rodrigo de Paul plays good for Argentina. So I'm going to watch him at Miami and see what he does. I don't think that anyone cares about Griezmann that's a French fan, unless you're just a super fan of Griezmann, but no one's really tuned in like that as much. And I know France is loaded. It's just the point I'm making.
The same Poland and Korea are completely different things. They're talking about the French national team or the Brazilian national team. Like, those are completely different monsters.
No, I know, but that's just the thing, though. Like, once you're not in the national team anymore, you're really not as relevant anymore for certain fans. So and you talked about this too, and we'll get to like the selling too. There's another issue with Major League Soccer as well, but we talked about how sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. We thought this summer was going to be huge for MLS, that the winter time was going to be cold and not as big because they're saving everything for the summer. And when you look at it, that's why it has to be disappointing, because you've got teams who didn't do anything in the winter and are not doing anything right now either. And people will say there's 2 weeks left the window, and I understand that. But these are some of these moves, Danny. I was hearing moves about certain players, rumored, Fabrizio was reporting it, 2-3 weeks before the window opened. Oh, there's already an agreement in place. This guy's going in June, late June. So, like, teams have had almost 2 months to negotiate with players. This is stuff that's already been done. The legwork's been done. If you haven't heard anything, that means your team's probably not doing anything.
That's fair. And again, this isn't as sexy of a transfer window that I thought. But when I put things in context and I see some of the players that have come in, I think they're quality players. When I look at the players that they missed out on, Lukaku, you can say what you want. I wasn't excited about Lukaku coming here. I wasn't excited about Darwin Nunez coming here. Darwin Nunez was a disaster in Liverpool. Liverpool fans, you can say what you want. I watched Liverpool pretty closely. I thought he was terrible. He went to Saudi. He lasted what? Did he even last the season over there? Like, I don't want Darwin Nunez over here. I'd take him over Lukaku technically, but I don't want Darwin Nunez over here either.
There's one more too. Mbolo from Atlanta did play for Switzerland. But like, if I told you in January, hey, Danny, 3 World Cup players coming to the MLS after the World Cup, you'd be like, oh, but man, look, who's coming? Who's coming? And then if I told you Mbolo, Saad, and Casemiro, you'd be like, that's it?
Yeah, but if we get to the end of the season and all 3 players are playing well, I'd rather that than Lukaku coming over here and busting his knees on the turf in Atlanta. I'd rather that than Darwin Nunez coming in here and whiffing wide left and wide right. Like, I think that what they do on the pitch matters. Saad, again, I watched him with Nashville against Inter Miami this weekend. That guy on down the left side on that team, he's going to be a monster. And nobody really talked about him when he got signed.
Oh, he's good,
That's a
but he
big
doesn't move the
signing.
needle, though. I like him as a player, but this is not like it's not about just
But
making your team better. This is
but at
about
some point, the needle needs to be a better product on the pitch. Like at some point, that's where the needle needs to go. It needs to be improving the product on the pitch, not so much the names. You said that the age of the players that we're getting right now, that's cute and all, but let's get some younger players that can improve the product on the pitch, because I think ultimately we need that to improve. To get Look, there was some stupid video going around, and I know that it was staged or whatever, but it somehow it made its way around anyway. There was these two dumbasses at an NYCFC game, and they're talking about how this is like the worst football they've ever seen in their lives, that they've watched college games that are better than this. It's hyperbolic. It's dumb. It was staged. They did it for clicks. They got their clicks. But I do believe that some people do watch this and think that the quality isn't there. We need to improve the quality on the pitch. I understand that the name recognition is nice, but at some point we need to focus in on the pitch also. And I think bringing quality players, which are the second tier players or those young players from South America, that's where we need to be going.
I don't disagree with that, but that's not going to happen until the roster rule changes. 3DPs is not going to change anything. It's going to have to be after the rule changes. This is more about getting the people in here foundationally, getting them to watch, have an interest, and then when the roster changes happen, then you can try to catapult the league. So that's my thinking on that. But let's talk about something else I think is important, because this is another part of the equation. You bring in Lewandowski, but we talked about who they have to get rid of to get him. Hugo Kuipers. He wanted to leave. So you sold the Golden Boot winner to bring in Lewandowski. And I love Lewandowski. He's one of my favorite strikers of all time, but he's 38 years old. You got a guy who's 10 years, you got a guy who's 10 years older you
Younger.
just sold, or no, I'm talking about Lewandowski's 10 years older. Hugo Kuipers sold to Liga MX, at $7.5 million. And then Diego Rossi also, who I don't even know if Bryce Mendes is better than Diego Rossi. We don't know that yet. He could be a downgrade. He could be equally as good. We have zero clue if Bryce Mendes is going to be as good as Diego Rossi.
Yeah, Luca Orellano also.
Yeah, exactly. So Monterrey has taken three of the best Major League Soccer players. So while we're getting older and signing guys that are okay, we're selling, to your point, some of the younger players that are good in this league and established. So how is that making the league better?
No, and you and I were talking about this the other day, how I'm frustrated that if players are going to leave and they want to go overseas to Europe, that's fine. I get that ultimately that's the goal for a lot of these guys. But to go to play in Liga MX, that's frustrating. Because I believe that Liga MX isn't a better or superior league to MLS. It isn't. It's top heavy. Their top teams are probably better because they have more money to spend. But from top to bottom, that's not a better league. And it's frustrating that they would go ahead and they would choose to go to Liga MX. And I get it, right? I'm sure that they're getting more money than they got here probably. But that does hurt, in my opinion. That does hurt the league, losing players to Liga MX. That is, I can't defend that because that does hurt. And I mean, it isn't happening as much, but it is happening, right? Brandon Vasquez came back. Are any of these guys going to come back? I don't know, but that does suck. If for some reason Sergio Ramos were to sign with an MLS squad or Neymar sign with an MLS squad, would that make you feel better about the league?
No.
Okay, good. I was just asking because those are big names.
No, listen, when I say big names, I mean guys who still have something left. Like Mo Salah is going to play for Egypt still. He is still a good player. If you sign him, and I know that you agree with me, you wanted to sign him. We both wanted to sign him. But I'm just saying, like, that's a target I don't think Major League Soccer could have afforded to miss out on. They should have made that a priority to get that over the line at any cost, like they did with Son Heung-min last year. Keep in mind, Son Heung-min some people think Salah is way better. I'm not going to debate that either way. But Danny, LAFC spent $28 million last year to get Son Heung-min here. You're telling me that all these teams, and I was just talking about guys on free transfers. You're telling me no team is going to spend any big money to try to maybe get a guy, spend $25 to $30 million to get the biggest fee.
I like to be realistic, though. like, let's be realistic. When you talk about big names like a Son coming over, at what age do you expect these guys to come over at the moment? And MLS, I think as it gets better, you might get them younger. But what at what
32,
age?
31. You could
Son
get
was
32.
Son was 33 when he came. He's 34 now. Like
Yeah, no, I
that,
know.
that's more or less the age. The only reason RDP came is because he's best buddies with Messi. Otherwise, he doesn't come here.
But every
Like,
guy that they signed this summer is older than 33. Every one of them.
because those are all guys that played with or against Messi that admire him, want to play with him. You're not going to get younger players yet. I think that's where we're heading. I think that's where the trajectory has this league going. But at the moment, to be realistic, we know that they're going to be in their close to mid 30s when they're coming over here if they're a top name. Now think around the world, what player is around that age that could come right now? Mo Salah, we've talked about him, and at this point it's pointless because we keep bringing him up. But that's the only one I can think of that like he could have come. Kevin De Bruyne is another one that I was hoping might come because
Yeah.
he's around that age, and that's a name that would have moved the needle that would still give you a lot on the pitch. That's a disappointing one because that would have been nice. But outside of those two, and which I don't even know if Belgium has a big following here in the States, but those are two names that I think would have been nice. Kevin De Bruyne, I would have been really happy about.
Well, and here's another thing too. I think is disappointing. I want to mention this as well. Is first thing is that the two of the biggest names that you say that they signed this year, we don't know if they're going to be any better than the previous guys. Lewandowski over Kuipers, Bryce Mendez over Rossi. We don't know if they're going to be any better. Another thing too is, don't you think it's a little surprising? And I'm not mad at them for spending this. Don't get me wrong. I am not upset with this. I'm upset that more teams aren't doing this. But the biggest transfer fee that's going to be spent after the 2026 World Cup in Major League Soccer is going to be Sporting Kansas City buying a guy from Olympiacos named Andre Luis, who they're probably overpaying for. Not many people have ever heard of him. He's going to cost probably around $20 million. He's going to be the biggest incoming transfer in the 2026 summer. Sporting Kansas City. And like I said, I am not upset that they're spending money. I'm upset that other people are not spending money and trying to bring in other talents this summer. Miami can't do anything because they have no DP spots open. So I'm not even upset with Miami. It is what it is with them. They put all their chips on the table with Bertarame in the wintertime to win the Champions Cup. Okay, so they can't do anything. But the Galaxy are taking a sloppy second, Chucky Lozano on loan, who hasn't played a game in a year, as a DP instead of trying to go get someone big.
I think that was such a genius move, though.
It's not, though. It's not.
I thought that was such a genius move.
I'm not going to
such a genius move. It was. And I think that I said Chucky was going to be a bust when he came to MLS because I don't believe in Chucky. But after him being sitting on the pine for so long, not being able to play, and now bringing that Mexican fan base behind him that still supports him, going to LA, I think that was genius.
They don't care, man.
I think it's nice. I think that was big. I think that was a big transfer window move. I think that was.
I think it's terrible. It's horrible. Very lazy. They could have done something that would actually make an impact, and I think could have helped revitalize that team. It's not Chucky Lozano, and there was rumors about New York City going for some guys. So I just think that this is a disappointing summer in the transfer window. We were sold a bill of goods and it underdelivered. And
to be fair, nobody sold us. We invented those.
No, but I was told by people. I was told by people that they were going to make big moves this summer. I've been told that for years, that they had a plan to bring people over after the World Cup. And another thing too is I don't buy into the BS about players won't come over here. You know what you do that, right, Danny? You know you get these guys over here. You do this right here. You do this right here. You spend that. Because we saw Saudi League bringing in 25-year-olds. Now they're paying stupid money. I'm not saying to do that.
We're not going to pay that crazy money.
Yeah, I'm not saying you got to do that, but I'm saying that the United States is definitely a more desirable place than Saudi Arabia. I think that you could probably spend a little less and get people over here if you're willing to spend the transfer fee. So I'm disappointed. What would you give this grade of this transfer window for MLS based on your expectations? You have to go off of what you expect in the summer. What would you grade this window out of a 10?
Out of a 10, I'd give it a 6.5.
Okay, I'm giving it like a 3.
That's a little low.
It's low because I have big expectations, and this is no different than the other transfer window.
You got Griezmann. He was a big name over the last 10 years. You got Lewandowski. Huge name over the last 10 years. Casemiro was killing it in Manchester United just last year.
Does anyone care that Inter Miami signed him? Are the Inter Miami fan? I think the Inter Miami fans are actually upset they signed him.
Well, because it was a position that we didn't need. But you're talking about just the league in general, the names that are coming to the league.
The own fan
No,
base doesn't even want him.
because we didn't need that position.
But that's what I'm saying. If the whole fan base didn't want him, he's not moving the needle. Like the Miami fans don't even want him
You
on the
could
team.
tell me literally that you're bringing any center defensive midfielder into Miami right now, and I think most fans would be like, "For what?"
No, if they signed Rodri,
the,
if they signed Rodri, they'd be losing their mind. But that's not happening, obviously. But they definitely would be okay with that signing.
yeah, maybe, but that's like the one center defensive midfielder because he's like the best center defensive midfielder in the world right now. But
yeah, yes.
Yeah, but Casemiro is still like, again, he was one of their best players last year in Manchester United. Just, I think that you are way underselling the transfer window. I think that we got some quality players. Was it as sexy as I was hoping? No, absolutely not. It was with Mo Salah. I pushed it over the hump. Absolutely. I think if Mo Salah would have come, I think everybody would have been a little happier. I think I'd be like, you know what? We got the biggest name in Africa. Let's go. But I think that they did better. I think that there were some underrated moves that are going to pay off on the pitch, and I think that needs to be accounted for also.
Well, we'll see. I'm curious what people think. If you guys are disappointed or approve of the 2026 MLS summer transfer window, let us know down below. Danny, I appreciate you for coming on, my friend. Make sure you guys go check him out at the Battered Herons, Battered Heat, Battered Jets. I mean, he's everywhere. Battered Soccer fans. He's battered everywhere, right? Make sure you go check him out.
Being a sports fan sucks.
It does. Okay. Any final thoughts before I let you go, my friend?
No, man. I was here and I pulled up a list while you were talking about the best footballers over the age of 30. And I look at most of these names and I can't imagine any of these names coming over. Bruno Fernandes's, Harry Kane's. There was a Bernardo Silva. He was rumored to come here for a while. You know where he ended up signing?
Madrid.
Real Madrid. Like, you know, would a Luke Shaw get you happy to go play fullback for somebody? Would a Luke Shaw make you happy?
Like I said, it didn't have to just be free transfers. There was a lot of different avenues they could have done. There could be guys that don't have to, like the Brill and Bolo guy, you know, sign more of like that level of players, like that, just guys that played the World Cup that maybe people saw. I'm not saying he moves the needle, like, but you needed like a crown jewel signing and then like a trickle down effect after that. Like if Mo Salah was the guy, and then you also signed Lukaku, you also signed Pulisic, and then Embolo, and then all these other guys, then it's like, okay, that is just a home run. That's perfect.
Well, and to be fair, when we started this episode, you said there was only one name. Half hour later, now there's three. So in the chat,
guys,
add some more names, because I think Will kind of finagled that stat. Let's see if you can find some more names of people that were part of the World Cup rosters that are now in MLS.
What I said is true though. More players have been sold that played at the World Cup from MLS than Bryn brought in. That is true.
That I don't doubt. Especially if you count the fact that Sebastian Berhalter and Arfsen that barely play. Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm sure that there's plenty of players that were part of some rosters that are in MLS now.
Yes. So now, and listen, like I said, yes, Saad did play for Tunisia, but did he play? I don't know. He was grouped. I mean, it's not like
he probably played more than Max Arfsen did.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. But either way, he didn't make it as far as Max Arfsen did.
Well, it wasn't because of Max Arfsen, and I like Max Arfsen.
No, I don't like Max Arfsen. I'm just joking.
What?
Yeah, well, we're not going to get into that. But guys, let us know what you guys think. Even listen, it doesn't matter. I think that the window was. I think it was a disappointment. You guys let me know if you agree with me or if you think it was a good window. Comment down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. And also don't forget, MLS Moves was presented by FanDuel. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.